Hi, I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. Today we're looking at GENOME by 2Notes. Now, full disclosure, 2Notes have sent this over for me to have a look at and to do a review of. But what I'm going to do is something slightly different to what a lot of other people are doing reviewing this software. Is as opposed to going over all the different functions of this software, what I'm going to do is to try and come up with two great tones, a clean tone and a drive tone, out the software. Now, I've been a 2Notes user probably for about 10 years now, and in my current setup I've got a 2Notes Torpedo Studio. This is now a discontinued unit, but what this is a amplifier load box, and I use it for pretty much all of my recording, so I know my way around it. I know my way around the sort of 2Notes software and ecosystem. So let's see how we get on with their AmpSim software, which is called GENOME. So first of all, here's your screen. Now this looks quite familiar. You can think of this a bit like an Axe sort of system where you've got all your different blocks along here and you can load in all your different elements of your guitar chain in these blocks. So first of all, let's load in an amplifier. And if you know the channel, you'll know that I'm a fan of Vox style amplifiers. So let's load in their version of a Vox AC30. Now, if I play this without loading in some sort of speaker emulation, which this has as well, it's going to sound pretty thin and tinny. So the next thing we need to do is to load in some of their speaker modelling. Now, 2Notes are really known for their speaker modelling, and I can honestly say it's definitely my favourite of all of the sort of load box devices. They really do a good job. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to load in a cabinet, and let's use their proprietary software, which is DynIRCab. It automatically loads up a Marshall 4x12. Sounds pretty good. Now, when I use my 2Notes Studio Rack, I load in two different speaker types. What you can do here, if I click in between the amp and the cab, we've got this option to split. So if I split that, what that does is set up two parallel paths. And again, let's load in another DynIRCab there. And because I want to close that split, let's merge it back. Now again, when I use my Studio Rack, I've got two speakers that I use pretty much all the time. One is a 1x12 called B Deluxe, and the other cab that I always load up is a 4x12. So let's click on the 4x12s and choose a strong back. Now what I can do is to click in between the parallel paths, and now I can pan those two cabinets left and right. So that's instantly adding a bit of stereo width. Now, because I can't play without reverb and delay, I want to add in a reverb and a delay at the end of the chain. Let's load in a reverb first. And the reverb that comes with the software is called Studio Reverb. That to me sounds pretty good. Right, let's click on the block before and let's load in a delay. Now let's choose Studio Delay. Now what we can do with this is two separate delays, so we can pan these left and right. We can have a different delay on the left and a different delay on the right. Now that's useful if you want to get some big sort of stereo width. We've got this link strip in the middle. What we want to try and do here is to unlink the time. So let's click on that, and I'm going to have a dotted eighth on the left hand side and a normal eighth note on the right hand side. That does actually sound really good. Let's bring the feedback back just so we don't get as many repeats. Nice, let's go back to the amp and have a look at the tone. Now I'd like it to break up just a little bit, so let's bring the gain up. Now that sounds pretty good, but just for giggles, let's add in some modulation. And what I'd like to do is to have a tremolo. So let's load in Studio Tremolo. I'm going to load that in before the delay as well, as I still want to keep all of the stereo effects lasting the chain. Now that sounds absolutely fantastic. I would have no problem with using that in a track. Now one last thing, just in case you like a bit of compression beforehand, let's click before the amplifier, one of the blocks before the amplifier, and let's go dynamics and load in the studio compressor. Now the thing that I really like about this is the visual aspect of the plugin. You can see exactly how much compression you've got, and you can see your attack and release times and your ratio. It really makes a lot of sense to people that don't really understand compression. So what I can do is to bring back the threshold, and then you can see the amount of compression happening here with these little dips. Now I want to make up that gain as well, so let's turn it up a little bit. So to me, that's a great clean tone. I can turn on and off the modulation if I don't want it. There are loads of other effects that you can add in, but to me, that is exactly what I would use for a sort of clean tone on a track. Perfect. So let's have a look at creating a drive tone. Now what I could do, I could set up a bunch of different presets by having loads of different amplifiers and completely sort of different effects chains and all that sort of stuff. But I know the sort of sounds that I like to go for. And I'm not really into the massively high gain sort of tones. So what I'll probably do is just to build on this tone and then treat this as a rig. So I'm going to have my overdrive effects before my amplifier. I can switch them off when I want cleaner tones, and I can have my effects post my amplifier. But let's go through a couple of the amplifiers before I go back to the Foxy amp or the Vox style amp, because I think this is probably what I'm going to be going with. But what I can do, I can turn off the amplifier and load in an amplifier beforehand. Now this is a great thing about the GENOME software, is you can have any variation of effects before or after the amplifier. You can have multiple amplifiers, multiple drive pedals, multiple effects post the amplifier, and you're not restricted to where you can put stuff, which I think is a really, really good thing. So I've turned off the Foxy amp. Let's have another look at a couple of different amps. Now, first of all, Codex is a profile player. So these are profiles that have been taken of amplifiers. But as we're creating a drive tone, let's turn that tremolo off. Now that sounds great. We've got loads of different choices here. Let's try the Blackbird Cream. That does sound really good, really like that. It is really dynamic as well. Let's have a look at another couple of amps. Now we've got a load of bass amps in here as well. I'm going to avoid all of those, but let's try this nifty 50, which is like a 5150. Again, sounds great, but not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for more of a sort of a mid-gain amplifier as well. So let's turn that off and let's go back to the Foxy. Now, again, we can go through all the different amplifiers, and people have done that in other videos. So if you want to go and see people go through all the different amplifiers, I'd highly recommend going to check out some of them. There are some great videos out there. But this Foxy amp to me sounds really, really good. Right, let's load in a drive pedal beforehand. Let's load in this Ultra Drive, which is like the Boss overdrive pedal. Now that to me sounds exactly what I'd be looking for. Now, as I said with this, you can treat it like a whole signal rig. So I can turn off this drive, load in a different drive. Let's try the Raunch Maker. So this is like a Marshall Blues Breaker style pedal. So let's turn the gain up full. The thing I really like about Blues Breakers, you get this really nice sort of top end attack. Which sounds really good. Now there's not a lot of gain with this pedal, but we can drive a little bit more into the amplifier. That to me sounds absolutely fantastic. I'd be more than happy using that for any track. Now, again, what we can do, because we can load in multiple effects before and after the amplifier, and the same effects before and after the amplifier, I can layer my overdrive pedals. So if I turn on my drive beforehand, now what you'll notice is that we had a lot of noise. Now let me show you one of the features which I think is really good on this plugin. If I click on the gate, let's turn it on. Now we've got this learn function, and that will work out the threshold that it needs to adjust to cut out all the noise. So let me go back, turn the drive on, and then engage that learn function. So there you go, that's how I would use this plugin. I would have multiple effects before and after the amplifier, and then switch them on and off depending on what sort of tone that I want. I really think that Foxy amp is the best amp in the whole of this plugin, and it's well worth checking out. And I think the whole plugin is well worth checking out. So if you want to do that, I'm going to leave all of the details of the GENOME plugin on 2Notes website in the notes, so you can just click on the link and go straight there and go and check it out yourself. Anyway, I really hope you guys got something out of this video. If you did get something out of it, don't forget to like and subscribe, click on the bell button, and you'll be notified of any future video that comes out from the Studio Rats. I'm Paul, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.